what's up guys, Scrubbed out here, Mii Swordfighter extraordinaire, and I'm here today to tell you why Power Thrust is a broken move and why your Mii Swordfighter should probably be running it. Now, Power Thrust is pretty much just a falcon kick with a sword at the end of it. The move lets you constantly threaten the mid to burst range of the opponent, always has to be watching out for, in neutral and while they're landing. It can also combo out of a projectile being shuriken and kill anywhere from 100 to 130%. It comes out on frame 12 and lasts a whopping 18 frames, which is kind of insane when you think about it, which lets you cover pretty much every tech option with the right timing and spacing. Originally though, many Mii Swordfighters actually thought the reversal slash was the best down B. This makes a lot of sense as it gives you a great reflect, which is pretty crazy in this game with so many broken projectiles. Sometimes you can kill people at like ludicrous percents with this reflect, especially because of the high multiplier on it. This helps Swordfighter play more into the anti-zoner game plan by always making your opponent think twice about shooting their shot. Some other things you could also use it for was to stall on disadvantage, as it halted your momentum, and get easy ledge jumps by reversing it into the ledge just like Mario or Cloud. However, even with the benefits of reversal slash, Power Thrust is still widely regarded as the better down B in 2023. This was popularized by a few different Swordfighter players. Power Thrust just kind of allows Swordfighter to play into a more aggressive and burst option-y playstyle that is always opting to pressure and always keep your opponent on their toes rather than just being a zoner. And even if we are playing more into the zoner playstyle, it's great to mix up the tempo every once in a while. So today I'm here to explain and go over all the best ways that you can use and abuse the strengths of Power Thrust. I'll teach you some new applications you might not have thought of with Power Thrust, alongside how to deal with Swordfighters spamming this move on quick play. Also, I just want to make it clear that I think Reversal Slash is a solid pick for Swordfighter still, especially depending on the matchup. There's still a handful of players in matchups that I would still run Reversal Slash personally in. I'm just kind of a Power Thrust addict. I'm such a fan of this move and the extra power it gives us, so I'm here to show you that. This move just feels great and I don't know what else to say. Let's get into it. The first and biggest reason why to use Power Thrust is the space it threatens for the opponent. Power Thrust lets Swordfighter automatically pressure the opponent and makes them have to respect us way more. The first frame comes out frame 12 and is active for a whole whopping 18 frames. Smash Ultimate already has a native 6 to 7 frames of delay, alongside an average good human reaction time usually being about 12 frames. This means that reaction time is about 18 to 19 frames. This is where Power Thrust is on frame 18. Up until this point, Power Thrust is technically unreactable, which is kind of messed up if you think about it. Obviously, if you are anticipating it, it definitely does get easier to react to. Something I just kind of thought about as well is the audio cue on Power Thrust definitely is important if you're trying to react to this move a lot. The move still adds another option though that the opponent needs to react to well at mid-range for Swordfighter, which gives us just some great conditioning. This forces the opponent to be ready for Power Thrust the entire time, or they will just get bought by the move. This makes them want to shield at that range, which is great for shuriken grabs, along with the mix-up of dash grabs and tomahawk grabs. The move is also just quite strong and can kill anywhere from 100 to 130% from different places on the stage, also depending on which hitbox you get. This really helps Swordfighter get some much needed kill power and has clutched me up a lot of games. The move also complements shuriken very well, to the point where if I'm running shuriken, 99% of the time I'm also running Power Thrust. They go together like bread and butter and are starting to become a staple in new renaissance of Swordfighters, where most players now are opting for both shuriken and Power Thrust if they're playing Swordfighter now. This is due to shuriken giving you crazy zoning in mix, and then them also having to worry about the threat of being comboed from a shuriken once they are hit, even at that range so far away. A lot of Swordfighters moves, mostly being narrowing down at early percents and then back air at slightly higher percents, set up great into tech chase situations for Power Thrust. Depending on the spacing and roll distance of the character, you can realistically cover every tech option with a well-timed Power Thrust, especially when they're near the ledge. I recommend practicing this with the training mod pack using the new feature that makes the opponent invisible after 7 frames. Just set the opponent to all tech options and practice using Nair Downer to send them into a tech chase situation, and then try and get the right spacing to punish every single option. Power Thrust is also great at catching your opponent's landings, especially after various strings from Swordfighter. The biggest one being catching A-lands when your opponent thinks they are safe from your pressure and feel like it's ended. Power Thrust is also great at catching opponents running off platforms as well. Be careful using Power Thrust to put yourself in the corner unless you know or are very confident that it will hit. The risk is pretty high and can lead to an easy reversal from your opponent on whiff, because we have a ton of lag on it. Power Thrust can be a really good option to catch drop down double jump aerials and jumps from ledge. If you take their jump, they're probably also dead depending on the character. Funny enough too, Power Thrust is a really good option against your opponent's reflectors. Short hop shuriken creates a great situation for Swordfighter where the opponent is either forced to shield the shuriken, jump over it, reflect it, or get hit by it, as I've displayed previously. Power Thrust is a great option to punishing aforementioned reflects. The move ducks you under the short hop shuriken and will usually true punish the reflect depending on the reflector and the position of it. Power Thrust has this weird property too, where it sometimes spaces on your opponent's shield. This can really mess people up as they won't be able to shield grab it if this happens. Intentionally going for this can really mess your opponent up and clutch you some key moments in matches. Aerial Power Thrust angles itself just like Falcon Kick in the air with a downward diagonal angle. It doesn't spike and will almost always send out despite how it looks. I've recently actually been toying with this move for niche edgeguard situations and I've been getting a decent amount of success with it. The angle it covers is a very common recovery angle for most characters. Swordfighter does have quite a bit of lag afterwards, so I would try and save this for a kill or two per set. You do need to double jump immediately after to reset your momentum, otherwise you will die and you can't really use it if you don't have your double jump left. It's most common for me to just do it right at ledge from a full hop. You can also use aerial power thrust to try and 2-frame, which some sword fighters have been using to some varying successes. Power thrust can also be used as this like weird niche landing option that probably shouldn't be used, but can also catch people off guard if they've never seen it before. This is because it has another landing hitbox, which a lot of people will shield the first hit and then not shield the last hit and die to it. The last major application that we've got for Power Thrust is footstool out of shield. Power Thrust is one of the best footstool out of shield options for Mii Swordfighter, the other two being Skyward Slash Dash and Stone Scabbard. Unfortunately, how good this move is out of shield is actually character dependent. Some characters will get hit by both the aerial and landing hitbox, and some will only get hit by the landing hitbox. This is definitely something to keep in mind when using it, as a 20% footstool option is pretty great, but you may just want to go with a footstool uppy instead if it only does 8% to that character. Overall, I'm very happy with the progress we've seen from Power Thrust. The move has various powerful applications and always makes your opponent stay on their toes and second guess your next option. Like I said earlier, I'm not saying that you have to use this in every matchup or that you even have to run it. If you like reflect or counter better, then feel free to stick with that. I just think that the move's kind of crazy and more sword fighters are starting to pick it up as well just because of how many utilities it gives you. Either way, I hope you learned more about Power Thrust in this video and how to use it better in your gameplay. If you are unfortunately on the receiving end of Power Thrust, the biggest thing to do is to always be ready to shield it when it's coming. Most sword fighters will also kind of give you a tell of when they're going to use it, and you can try and kind of catch on when their habit is to use it. Try and use the move's audio cue as well to react to it. It is quite unsafe on shield, but it can space on your shield from some out of shield options, most commonly shield grab, which you need to be in mind of. One last thing before you go, I'm now officially offering Mii Swordfighter coaching again. We have a waitlist right now that you can join with a form in the description. If you have any interest in improving with Mii Swordfighter and want to be able to push the depths of the character, I can't recommend it enough to you. Anyways, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching and have a good rest of your day. See ya.